Recent news coming from Steve Simmons of the Toronto Sun, talking about Mitch Marner, and not an update on what's going on now. There's actually a cool Bob McKenzie sit-down interview with Kyle Dubas that came out today. I'm not going to refer to any of that in this video. Instead, I wanted to focus on Simmons and his this and that little segment from earlier in the week. Now, this is a pretty poorly assembled paragraph. It's one really long paragraph, at least formatted on my computer, talking about Kyle Dubas, Mitch Marner, the Maple Leafs, Patrice Bergeron and the Bruins. Then it also talks about the Yankees and the OHL. It's a really long paragraph talking about different things, but I wanted to turn your attention to just the first little bit here, because it gives a little bit of insight as to why hindsight is amazing. It's September. Kyle Dubas wanted to have Mitch Marner signed by July. The betting here remains the same. Marner will get signed in early October. He'll miss training camp, but almost none of the regular season. Steve Simmons then says, "I'm told the Leafs could have signed Marner a year ago for 8 years at $8 million a year. But they thought it was too much at the time." Oh man. Toronto, you done goofed. You done goofed. Mitch Marner, 1 year ago, could have been signed to an 8x8, $64 million, $8 million as an annual value for 8 years. And this whole contract thing that we're in now could have been avoided. So, I think if a number like 8x8 came out a year ago, sure, there would have been some form of scrutiny. I think that's kind of obvious to see. A young guy in the NHL making $8 million a year ago would have been a little bit noteworthy, but Marner wasn't at 94 points back then. Back then, Marner was at 69 points, which is very nice, but he was a player that people were kind of knowing, okay, next year the contract is going to be up and he has to re-sign and everything. What's the number? Ooh, people are throwing out these numbers, 6, 7, because he's a guy who could get up to 60, maybe even 70 points in a year, right? Nobody really expected him to match the amount of points he had in 2018 with assists alone in 2019 and bump himself up to 94 points. Mitch Marner is in legitimate 100-point potential nowadays, and whatever money he demands is probably fair. It's just the Maple Leafs are in a really weird cap crunch. So, taking a look at it like, hey, we could have had him for 8x8 a year ago. Oh man, that's unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. I guess if there's a lesson that we have to take a look at nowadays, it's pay your elite talents what they could be before they're there, because you want to avoid the big RFA holdouts. We're seeing it with everybody. Pretty much the entire stacked class of RFAs, aside Aho, is in this boat. Laine, Connor, Besser, Rantanen, Point. These guys are all in the same boat, and Marner is the guy who is controlling the pace. But it could have been 8. It could have been $8 million a year ago. Oh man. Zanen datta ne. Hope you enjoyed this video. そしてだしょうさいない。And bye.